If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know in the comments. Would you open the alien pod if you found it drifting in space? Now, let's begin. Silence reigned over the Black Sea between stars until the Kthara broke it, a sleek research vessel of the Vshar Dominion, gliding through vacuum on wings of light. Its scanners whispered to life, brushing across radiation ghosts and the distant hum of nebulae. Dr. Kale Varrix leaned toward the console, her silver eyes narrowing as a faint pulse appeared on the readout: organic, rhythmic, impossible. Unregistered biosignature, Vector 12, her assistant chirped, voice fluttering with confusion. Kale frowned. Out here? Nothing living survives this region. Plot intercept. The crew hesitated. Everyone knew the void between Vshar sectors was haunted by debris and ghosts of wars too ancient to name. Yet Kale's curiosity was legendary, and curiosity in her world was more dangerous than any weapon. Minutes later, the ship's lights fell upon the object. A human escape pod, battered, scorched, still bleeding atmosphere like a wounded animal. Alien glyphs scrolled across the glass as they scanned it, but Kale's eyes fixed on the symbols etched into the hull. She couldn't read them, but she felt their weight. Primitive, Commander Inar scoffed. Carbon shell, chemical propulsion residue. It's a relic. Kale's voice softened. Relics don't send out heartbeats. The pod rotated lazily in zero gravity, one viewport cracked but not shattered. Beneath the frost, a figure floated, broad-shouldered, wrapped in an ancient flight suit marked with the faded insignia of something no alien had seen in millennia. A blue and white flag stitched beside the word Earth. The chamber fell silent. Retrieve it, Kale ordered. Inar turned sharply. Doctor, that's unauthorized biological matter. It could be a weapon. All life is dangerous if misunderstood, Kale said, not looking at him. Bring it aboard. They obeyed. The pod was hauled into Containment Chamber 7, sealed under triple quarantine. Kale stood behind the transparent barrier, her breath misting the glass as the interior lights flickered over the figure. The sensors were confused, they couldn't categorize what they were seeing. Temperature, critical low. Metabolic activity, minimal, the med-drone reported. Recommendation, disassembly for cellular analysis. Kale hesitated. No. Stabilize it first. But stabilization wasn't simple. The body inside had endured radiation levels that liquefied most known species. Its tissue resisted nanite repair. Its neural patterns were chaotic. Almost angry. Hours passed. The Vshar crew grew restless. They whispered of this sleeping weapon, a thing that shouldn't exist. Inar filed an alert to the Galactic Science Guild, reporting unknown bioform found in pre-fold technology. Within hours, an order came back, stamped with authority: dissection authorized. Kale stared at the command sigil glowing on her tablet. Dissect? It wasn't a specimen, it was someone. She replayed the scans again. Every cell, every scar screamed of struggle, not design. She leaned close to the glass and whispered, "What are you, traveler?" Then, movement. It was slight at first, a twitch of fingers beneath the frost. Then the body convulsed, a soundless gasp tearing through the containment mics. The monitors spiked. Heartbeat. Neural storm. Kale's eyes widened. Give me a translator field. Now. Technicians stumbled to obey. The figure's eyelids fluttered open, revealing human eyes, glazed with confusion but burning with primal will. For a moment he didn't see aliens or glass or machinery. He saw a battlefield, the wreckage of his ship, the endless black swallowing him whole. Kale took a cautious step forward. Can you hear me? The human's gaze locked onto her, disoriented but fierce. He tried to move, restraints clamped down. The sound that followed wasn't speech. It was a growl, low and animal, vibrating through the containment walls. Inar cursed, raising his weapon. Specimen is awake. Prepare sedation. Wait, Kale began, but the drones were already descending, arms outstretched with injectors. The human's reflexes blurred, faster than the drones could react. One cracked against the glass, shattering its emitter array. A flash of static filled the air. The pod's containment field flickered. Kale's pulse raced. Stop. You'll kill it. Inar's voice was steady, cold. Then it's safer for all of us. The human's breathing quickened, eyes darting to every weapon, every glowing sensor. He didn't understand the language, but he understood fear, and the sound of syringes ready to strike. His hands tightened against the restraints, veins bulging. The monitors screamed warnings. Energy surge detected. The system blared. Kale saw the impossible. his body generating bursts of kinetic output strong enough to overload the bed stabilizers. The air shimmered with heat. Then everything went dark. Emergency lights snapped on. Cale stood frozen amid the chaos. The human lay motionless again, chest heaving, eyes staring through the glass directly at her. His lips moved, no sound, just the faintest echo picked up by the translator mic. "Where am I?" Cale didn't answer. She couldn't. The entire room smelled faintly of ozone and something else, the scent of a storm on a planet she'd never seen. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of failing systems. Inar stormed forward, slamming his weapon onto the console. "Seal the chamber. Until we know what it is, nothing leaves that pod alive." Cale turned toward him, voice shaking. "He's not it. He's alive." Inar sneered. "Alive doesn't mean intelligent. Or safe." "Then neither are we," she snapped. Their argument echoed as Medrones began re-establishing power. The human's vitals stabilized, barely. Cale couldn't tear her gaze away from him, not from the eyes that had looked death in the face and refused to blink. In the observation log that night, she wrote only one sentence. "The specimen is not a weapon. The specimen is willing to survive." When she finished, she looked back through the viewport. The human was still, but his expression had changed, softer, almost knowing, as if he understood what she had written. She didn't realize that even sedated, he could still hear. The translator relay was incomplete, but the frequencies bled through. And in his half-dreaming mind, Captain Ray Donovan whispered a single thought that rippled through the machine sensors like thunder. "I'm not dying here. Not again." Cale flinched as every monitor flickered in response, as though the ship itself had felt his resolve. She took a step closer to the glass, hand resting lightly on the barrier. "You'll have to tell me your name when you wake," she murmured. The hum of the containment field deepened, like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat. Outside the viewport, the stars drifted past, endless, indifferent witnesses. Cale Varrix didn't yet know that the decision she made tonight, to study, not destroy, would ignite a chain of events that would shake the galaxy. Inside the pod, beneath alien light, humanity's most dangerous survivor dreamed of home. And in that dream, Earth was still waiting. The light was sterile, a white so pure it erased shadows. Cale stood at the edge of the containment room, her reflection mirrored in the curved glass as the human, Captain Ray Donovan, as the recovered flight tag identified him, floated within a web of energy restraints. He was conscious now, half-starved, half-furious, and entirely alive. Every system that tried to sedate him had failed. Every chemical neutralizer burned out on contact with his blood. Cale had spent days rewriting reports to the Guild, disguising her fascination behind the language of procedure. The orders were clear: dissect, document, dispose. But every time she looked at him, she saw a contradiction too loud to ignore. His physiology screamed danger, but his silence spoke of something else: defiance, patience, maybe even restraint. Inar entered behind her, armored and confident. "The Council grows impatient, Doctor. You were authorized to begin analysis 3 cycles ago." Cale didn't turn. "If I begin, he'll die." "That's not analysis, it's execution." Inar's lip curled. "We don't preserve weapons. We dismantle them." He gestured to the suspended human. "That thing survived vacuum exposure. No suit, no shield. It resists every sedative in our arsenal. Tell me that's not engineered." Cale stepped closer to the glass, voice calm. "Or tell me it's evolved." Inar's patience frayed. "You've gone native with your specimens before, Cale. Don't let your empathy cloud protocol." She turned to face him fully, her eyes sharp. "Empathy is the reason I'm a scientist, not a soldier." He left without another word, the hiss of the door sealing behind him. Cale waited until his footsteps vanished before she spoke softly into the intercom. "Ray Donovan. Can you understand me?" Inside the chamber, Ray's head lifted. His eyes, storm gray under the harsh light, found her through the barrier. "I understand enough," he rasped. The translator stuttered between syllables, struggling with his damaged voice. Cale's pulse quickened. "You've been unconscious for several rotations. You're on a research vessel of the Vshar Dominion. We found you drifting." His expression hardened. "You didn't find me. You caught me." She couldn't deny it. "We thought you were a threat." His laugh was dry, bitter. "That's not new." She hesitated, then asked, "What were you doing out there?" "Your vessel's records were corrupted. No data survived." His gaze flicked to the ceiling as if searching for something beyond it. "Exploring. Fighting. Dying. Take your pick." The translator faltered again and Cale leaned forward. You're not dying anymore. Not for lack of trying, huh? He tugged at the restraints, testing them. They held, humming faintly. His muscles strained, then relaxed. So what's next, doctor? Cut me open? Cale flinched. No. Because if that's the plan, Ray interrupted, I suggest you start with someone faster. There was no malice in his voice, only certainty. Cale studied him, noting the steady rise of his chest, the control in his breathing. Predators did not panic. They observed, calculated, waited. And he was waiting for her move. She keyed a sequence on her console, lowering the restraints just enough for him to shift his arms. I'm not your enemy, she said quietly. He raised a brow. You work for the people who put me in a cage. Then tell me what you are, she said. Give me a reason to stop them. He didn't answer. His silence stretched like a blade drawn slow. When he finally spoke, it was softer, almost weary. I'm human. That's reason enough. Cale frowned. Humanity doesn't exist in our archives. The nearest record dates back 30,000 cycles. Extinct. Guess your archives are wrong. He gave a ghost of a smile. We've got a habit of surviving extinction. She wanted to ask more, but alarms cut her off. The room lights flashed crimson. Inara's voice filled the comms, harsh and urgent. Containment breach in Sector 3. Doctor, secure your specimen now. Cale spun toward the console. What breach? Power surge, origin unknown. Your creature's pod is drawing energy from the grid. Her eyes snapped to Ray. He was motionless, but the energy field around him pulsed brighter. Monitors spiked. His body temperature rose. Cale slammed controls to stabilize the feed, but his metabolism absorbed every watt she rerouted. Ray, stop. He met her eyes, calm amid the chaos. I'm not doing this. The restraints began to disintegrate, metal hissing and curling into vapor. Cale's assistants rushed in, weapons raised. Do not fire, she shouted. You'll overload the containment field. One shot anyway. The plasma bolt hit the energy barrier and ricocheted. A console exploded, shattering the observation glass. Smoke filled the chamber. Cale stumbled forward through the haze. When her vision cleared, Ray was free. The remnants of the restraints hung in tatters. He stood between the broken panels, shoulders squared, blood streaking down one arm where the bolt had grazed him. Don't move, Cale said, though her voice trembled. He looked at her, not with rage but exhaustion. I don't want to hurt anyone. Then let me help you. Pause. The ship's alarms blared, metal groaning as systems overloaded. Cale's crew fled the corridor. Only she remained. Ray took one step toward her. His movements were deliberate, precise. Not an animal, something trained. She raised her hands slowly. If you leave now, they'll hunt you. The Dominion will brand you a weapon. They won't stop. I've been hunted before. His voice was steady, but there was a flicker of something behind it, loneliness, grief. But I don't kill unless I have to. Cale swallowed hard. Then you'll need a guide. The word surprised even her. Ray frowned, studying her. You'd betray your people for me? They stopped being my people when they ordered your death. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. The ship's sirens dimmed to a low wail. Cale moved toward a nearby console, overriding the chamber locks. The inner doors hissed open. You'll need access to the hangar, she said. I can get you there. But you must trust me. He gave a short, disbelieving laugh. Trust? After you tried to cut me open? Cale met his gaze. Then consider this my experiment in redemption. He watched her another moment, then nodded once. Lead the way, Doctor. As they stepped into the corridor, flickering lights revealed the destruction behind them. Scorched walls, smoking consoles, the echo of what the Dominion would call a catastrophe. But Cale saw something else in it. Proof. Proof that life, real life, fought for its place in the universe. Ray moved with the quiet grace of someone who'd learned long ago how to survive behind enemy lines. Cale followed close, guiding him through maintenance tunnels. For the first time she wasn't studying him, she was running beside him. Behind them, Inara's voice thundered through the comms. Seal every exit. The human escapes with the doctor's aid. By order of the Council, lethal force authorized. Cale looked back once, heart pounding. We won't make it far before they reach us. Ray's hand brushed the wall, feeling the hum of the ship's systems beneath his fingers. Then we don't run far, he said. We run smart. Cale didn't know what he meant, but there was something in his tone, a soldier's certainty. And for the first time since finding him adrift in space, she realized the truth. He wasn't the experiment. He was the lesson. The alarms changed pitch, signaling pursuit closing in. Kale glanced at him, uncertain, breath ragged. "Ray," she whispered, "what are you going to do?" He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that precedes chaos. "Find a way home." And before she could answer, he moved, fast, decisive, unstoppable. The hunter awakened in full. The corridor lights flared white and the chase began. The sirens bled into the metal bones of the ship, a pulsing heartbeat of alarm. Ray ran first, barefoot across the cold floor, the torn sleeve of his flight suit dark with blood. Kale followed, clutching a small hollow tablet, her fingers flying across its surface as she disabled one bulkhead lock after another. The corridors trembled with the weight of pursuit, boots, drones, the echo of an empire that refused to lose control of its specimen. Ray didn't slow. Every turn was muscle memory, every sound mapped in seconds. He'd been hunted before on worlds far worse than this, but there was something different now. This wasn't a battlefield. It was a labyrinth designed to contain the unknown. He was that unknown. "Left," Kale shouted. "Maintenance conduit. It bypasses central security." He skidded around the corner, shoulder brushing the bulkhead. The conduit was narrow, lined with pulsating cables that painted his skin in streaks of blue light. Kale sealed the hatch behind them, her breathing shallow. "They'll track heat signatures," he said. "I can mask them for 60 seconds. She didn't look at him. "After that, they'll know exactly where we are." Ray crouched, catching his breath. 60's enough. He glanced at her tablet, recognizing pieces of the ship's schematics. "You've memorized this layout?" "I designed parts of it." He smiled faintly. "Then I picked the right hostage." Her glare was sharp. "If I were a hostage, I wouldn't still be here." He studied her face in the dim light, noting the calm beneath her fear. She wasn't built for violence, but she hadn't broken. "You're right," he said quietly. "You're a volunteer." She didn't answer, but the truth hung between them, heavy and undeniable. The conduit opened into an observation deck overlooking the hangar below, a cathedral of machinery where sleek fighters waited like sleeping predators. The air shimmered with plasma fields, guarded by rows of soldiers in obsidian armor. At the far end, a small vessel rested half disassembled, a courier-class interceptor. Ray's eyes narrowed. "That one. It's fast enough to break orbit." Kale frowned. "It's half-fueled and missing its secondary thrusters." "Half's better than none." Down below, Inar's voice thundered through the comm system. "Containment team, lock down Deck 5. The human is armed and dangerous. Kill on sight." Kale's hand tightened around her device. "You're not armed." Ray picked up a fallen drone from the maintenance tunnel, ripped out its plasma core and held it up. "I am now." She stared. "You can weaponize that?" "Not for long. But long enough." They slipped down a ladder shaft, emerging behind a row of cargo modules. The air was thick with ozone and the hum of engines charging. Soldiers moved in formation across the floor, rifles leveled, scanning for motion. Kale's voice dropped to a whisper. "There's a maintenance rail above the hangar. It leads straight to the interceptor's access hatch." "Show me." She led him along the catwalk, her movements quiet but tense. The metal groaned under their weight. One soldier looked up and Ray froze. The soldier's visor caught a glint of movement, but before he could raise the alarm, Ray dropped silently from the ledge, striking like gravity itself. One twist, one sharp motion, and the alien collapsed without a sound. Kale stared, horrified and awed. "You didn't even..." "Talk later," he muttered, dragging the body out of sight. "Move." They reached the top of the interceptor. Kale bypassed the access panel, overriding its defense lock with her credentials. The hatch slid open with a hiss. Inside, the cockpit was small, built for two at most. Ray climbed in first, checking the power core. "You said it's missing thrusters?" "Yes. You'll need manual stabilization during re-entry." "I've done worse." He glanced back. "You coming?" She hesitated. "If I board that ship, I can't go back." "They'll kill you for helping me." Her eyes met his. "Then I already can't go back." A voice roared from below, "Inar, closer now." "There." On the rail. Blaster fire ripped through the air. Kale ducked inside the cockpit as Ray slammed the hatch shut. The ship's systems came alive in a surge of light and noise. Kale threw herself into the co-pilot's seat, overriding the hangar clamps. "Engines at 40%, she reported. "Good enough." The hangar doors began to seal, massive slabs of alloy grinding shut. Ray grabbed the controls, flipped the plasma core from the stolen drone into the reactor conduit, and yanked the ignition switch. The ship roared, shaking the deck. The clamps burst, and the interceptor lurched upward, trailing sparks. Alarms screamed across the hangar. NRS soldiers opened fire. The ship's hull flared with impacts. Kale rerouted power from life support to shields, shouting over the din, "You won't make the gate without full thrust. Watch me." Ray angled the ship toward the narrowing slit of space between the closing doors. For one breathless second, the universe shrank to that gap, to the sound of tearing metal and Kale's heartbeat in his ear. Then the interceptor shot through, a streak of light vanishing into the void. Silence returned, momentary, perfect. Kale slumped back, chest heaving. "You're insane." Ray smiled without humor. "That's been suggested." She stared at the endless stars ahead, the Dominion ship shrinking behind them. "You've just declared war on a civilization that spans 100 systems." He didn't answer right away. His eyes were fixed on the controls, scanning for any sign of pursuit. "They declared it first when they strapped me to a table." Kale folded her arms, the weight of her choice settling in. "They'll send fleets. They'll never stop. Neither will I." He adjusted the stabilizers manually, fingers moving with practiced ease. "You said this ship has jump capability. Can it reach neutral space?" "Barely. But you'll need coordinates." He glanced at her. "Then you'd better pick a direction." She hesitated. "Why me?" "Because I trust your aim more than mine." It wasn't quite a compliment, but it made her smile despite herself. She entered coordinates into the console, her voice quiet. "There's an asteroid belt on the outer rim. If we hide there, they'll lose the signal." "Good. Do it." The stars stretched into thin white lines as the ship leapt into hyperspace. The hum of the drive filled the silence that followed, low and constant, almost peaceful. Kale turned to him. "You could have killed me back there." "I could have," he agreed. "Why didn't you?" Ray looked at her, then really looked, past the alien skin and unfamiliar eyes, to the person who had risked everything to save him. "Because you didn't cut me open." Her throat tightened. For a long while neither spoke. The stars outside flickered and bent, the ship slicing through the fabric of space like a ghost. Kale finally whispered, "Where exactly is home, Ray?" He leaned back, gaze distant. "A small planet with too much rain and not enough mercy. But it's mine." The words hung there, fragile, almost human. Kale exhaled slowly. "Then let's find it." The ship shuddered as another warning flashed across the console. "Tracking beacon detected, pursuit incoming." Kale's heart sank. "They're faster than I thought." Ray's hands tightened on the controls. "Then we stop running." Her eyes widened. "What are you planning?" He smiled, that same dangerous, weary smile she'd seen in the lab. "To remind the galaxy why humans were meant to be feared." Outside, the void rippled with approaching light. The chase wasn't over. It was just beginning. The stars warped and snapped back into focus as the interceptor tore free from hyperspace. Kale's stomach lurched from the sudden deceleration, the ship rattling under stress it wasn't designed to endure. Warning lights pulsed red across the console. The engines groaned like a dying animal. Ray's hands danced over the controls, steady despite the chaos. "We're out," he said, voice flat with fatigue. "But they're not far behind." Kale leaned forward, scanning the NAV data. 3 Dominion cruisers on intercept. Their jump drives outclassed the ship by centuries. Ray grinned, though his eyes stayed fixed on the dark ahead. "Then we'll have to be smarter." He cut power to half the systems, plunging the cabin into dim emergency glow. The stars outside dimmed as the ship drifted toward a vast field of shadow, an asteroid belt fractured from the bones of a dead moon. Kale frowned. "You can't outrun them in there. The debris will tear us apart." "I'm not outrunning them," Ray said. "I'm hiding." He guided the ship into the field's heart, weaving through tumbling rocks the size of cities. The hull scraped ice and stone, leaving silver scars across black metal. Kale could feel each impact like a heartbeat in her bones. Behind them, space flared with blue light. The Dominion fleet arrived, 3 colossal vessels, their engines burning with the calm arrogance of hunters who already smell blood. Kale whispered, "They'll scan for thermal signatures." "They'll scan for fear," Ray murmured, cutting the last of the power. The ship fell silent. Only the soft ping of cooling metal broke the quiet. They waited. Minutes stretched thin. Kale watched the sensors flicker as waves of energy swept over them. Each pulse brushed close enough to make her teeth ache. Finally she exhaled. "They'll find us eventually." "Maybe," he said. "But not before I make them regret looking." Kale turned to him. "What are you planning?" He opened a maintenance panel beneath the console, revealing a tangle of conduits. You said their scanners can't distinguish between energy readings in this belt and natural mineral interference, right? Yes. Good. That means we can hide an energy spike inside the noise. Her brow furrowed. You're building a trap. Just giving them something else to shoot at? He rerouted power from the engine core into an external relay. When they lock on, we overload the signal. It'll look like an explosion big enough to vaporize us. Kale realized what he was doing and her stomach twisted. If the overload misfires, the reactor will actually blow. He gave her a lopsided smile. Then we'll both be very quiet afterward. The minutes that followed were a blur of motion. Kale worked alongside him, synchronizing power nodes, calibrating decoys, fighting the creeping sense that they were delaying the inevitable. Every time her fingers brushed his, she felt the steady pulse of someone who had long ago accepted that death was part of the job. When it was ready, Ray leaned back. We'll drift another 2 clicks before triggering. They'll follow the trail. When they close in, we light the fire and jump. Kale swallowed hard. And if it doesn't work? He glanced at her, eyes unreadable. Then it's been a pleasure not dying quietly. The Dominion ships advanced. Beams of scanning light lanced through the field, illuminating drifting rock and frozen gas. The shadows of the asteroid stretched across their hulls like claws. Kale's voice dropped to a whisper. They've locked onto our vector. Then let's give them a show. Ray pressed the relay trigger. The console flared, light washing across their faces. The interceptor seemed to shudder with pain as the energy burst outwards, blooming into a sphere of blinding white. Kale shielded her eyes. The sensors screamed false readings, catastrophic detonation, total annihilation. In the distance, the Dominion cruisers halted. Their formation broke as one ship veered aside, scanning the expanding plume. The others followed, cautious. Ray seized the moment. Punch it. Kale re-engaged the engines. The ship roared back to life, streaking away from the light storm before the sensors could reset. They vanished into the dark side of the asteroid field, leaving the wreckage illusion to burn behind them. When the silence returned, Kale dared to look back. The cruisers hung in confusion, scanning the false explosion, unaware that their prey had already slipped away. Ray slumped in his seat, laughing under his breath. Still got it. Kale shook her head, half in disbelief, half in relief. You're impossible. Yeah, he said softly, that's the point. She studied him in the flickering half-light. The human's face was lined with exhaustion, yet his eyes still burned with an old fire. She understood then that it wasn't just survival that drove him, it was belonging. Somewhere across all that void, something still called him home. After a long silence, she asked, What's Earth really like? Ray's gaze softened. It's messy, loud, full of things that break and heal in the same breath. We fight over everything, land, ideas, even air sometimes. But we always rebuild. You'd hate it. Kale smiled faintly. Then maybe I'd fit right in. He looked at her, the corner of his mouth twitching. You sure about that? My people don't exactly welcome strangers. You think yours are the only ones who distrust the unknown? Her voice steadied, quiet but sharp. We dissect what we fear. You forgive what you shouldn't. That's why we lose and you survive. Her words lingered in the air, heavier than the silence that followed. Before Ray could respond, the console chimed. Kale's smile faded. They've found our false signal. They'll realize soon we're still alive. He exhaled through his teeth. Then it's time for Plan B. Which is? Make it to the nearest jump corridor. You said the Dominion doesn't patrol neutral sectors. Not often. The Council forbids it. It's contested space. Perfect. He adjusted their trajectory manually, the engines groaning under strain. Once we cross that line, they can't follow without starting a war. Kale's hands flew over the controls. The reactor's still unstable. If we push it that hard, then it'll hold or it won't. Either way, we're going home. The asteroids fell away behind them, replaced by the endless black of unclaimed space. The stars grew sharp and cold, each one a promise or a warning. Kale turned in her seat. Why risk everything to return? You could disappear anywhere. The galaxy is wide. He smiled, eyes on the horizon. Because wide isn't home. And home is where the fight started. Her next question died on her tongue as the ship lurched. The proximity alarms wailed again, new contacts on the long-range sensors. Smaller, faster ships breaking from hyperspace. Dominion interceptors. Kale's heart dropped. They deployed scouts. They'll reach us before we hit the corridor. Ray's jaw clenched. Then we make our stand here. She stared at him. You can't outgun them. No, he said quietly. But I can outthink them. He reached for the auxiliary controls and cut the primary engine feed. The ship went dark once more, drifting silent and dead. Let them come close, he murmured. Close enough to see the ghost they made. Cale watched him work, realization dawning. He wasn't just surviving. He was turning the hunt around. Outside, 3 bright specks approached, weaving through the darkness, drawn by the faint echo of a dying reactor. Cale's voice was barely a whisper. Ray, what are you about to do? He smiled, tired but certain. What humans always do when cornered. She swallowed. Which is? Fight smart. And go home alive. The first interceptor closed the gap. The others followed, their weapons locking on. Ray's finger hovered over the ignition switch. Hold on, he said. And with a sound like thunder swallowed by vacuum, he lit the stars on fire. The explosion rolled outward like the breath of a dying sun. The Dominion interceptors vanished in a storm of plasma and shattered metal, their elegant hulls folding in on themselves before light consumed them. Ray's ship spun violently from the shockwave, alarms shrieking as panels sparked and shattered. Cale slammed into the console, tasting blood. Stabilizers offline, she shouted. Ray gritted his teeth, wrestling the controls. Come on, girl, hold together for me. The interceptor groaned in protest, metal twisting under stress, but the thrusters obeyed. They limped free of the expanding debris cloud, smoke curling through the cabin. Behind them, fragments of Dominion ships drifted silently into the void, glowing like embers in the darkness. Cale pushed herself upright, her hands trembling. You overloaded the reactor again, didn't you? Ray coughed through the smoke. Just enough to fake our death a second time. Her eyes flashed. You could have killed us both. He managed a crooked grin. Would have been one hell of a light show, though. Cale wanted to curse him, but the exhaustion in his face silenced her. Beneath the bravado, he looked spent, hollowed out by the constant strain of surviving. She saw it now, not recklessness but resolve. Every gamble, every near-death decision was a refusal to surrender. Ray, she said softly, you don't have to keep proving you're impossible to kill. He glanced at her, eyes tired but alive. If I stop, they win. The Dominion? He shook his head slowly. No. The fear. The one that makes everyone else stop fighting. Outside, the black of space began to glow faintly. The neutral corridor shimmered ahead, a thin, unstable line of wormhole energy cutting across the void. It wasn't safe. It wasn't even legal for a ship this small to pass through. But it was the only path to Earth. Cale ran diagnostics. The drive's barely functional. If we jump now, it could tear us apart. Ray reached over, pressing a hand on hers. If we stay, they'll finish the job. They've already launched a new wave of ships from the cruiser. On the scanner, distant lights blinked into existence. Dozens of them. Cale's breath hitched. They're not giving up. They won't stop, Ray said. Not until they understand what they tried to dissect. He looked at her. And they never will. She met his gaze, something fierce rising inside her. Then let's make sure they remember what happens when they try. He smiled at that, an exhausted, crooked human smile. Now you're thinking like one of us. They worked in silence, recalibrating the reactor's containment field, stripping power from everything non-essential. The hum of the ship grew faint, a dying heartbeat. Cale rerouted the last of the stabilizer energy to the jump core. Once we cross, she said, you'll have less than 5 seconds to re-engage the containment seals. Ray tightened the harness around his chest. 5 seconds is generous. The Dominion fleet closed in, weapons glowing like distant suns. Cale's fingers hovered over the jump control. Ready? He exhaled slowly. Always. She engaged the drive. The universe bent. Reality folded inward, the stars stretching into ribbons of light before snapping to black. The cabin filled with the low, teeth-rattling hum of the corridor tearing open. For a moment, everything was weightless, then violent. The ship bucked, metal shrieking as the jump core flared unstable. Cale screamed over the noise. Reactor breach imminent. Ray's hands flew over the manual controls, forcing the stabilizers back online. Come on, don't quit on me now. A surge of energy burst through the cabin, throwing them both forward. Cale felt the breath tear from her lungs. The view outside warped. No stars, no darkness, only an endless, shimmering tunnel. Then silence. The ship dropped out of hyperspace with a gut-wrenching jolt. Systems flickered. Smoke curled from the vents. Through the viewport, a planet filled the horizon. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands. Kale stared, her voice barely a whisper. It's real. Ray's expression softened, a quiet awe breaking through the exhaustion. Home. The moment hung suspended, fragile, beautiful. Then reality crashed back. The ship's proximity alarm wailed. Kale's eyes widened. Dominion signature. One ship made it through. Ray's jaw clenched. Of course they did. A shadow loomed above the clouds, sleek, angular, and burning. The last Dominion cruiser descended like a god of judgment. Ray steadied the controls. If they reach the surface, they'll find Earth. Kale's voice hardened. Then we end this now. The human nodded. You take the weapons. I'll take the wheel. The interceptor screamed through the atmosphere, flames licking across its hull. The Dominion ship followed, raining plasma fire that scorched the clouds. Earth's sky became a battlefield. Kale's fingers danced across the targeting system, locking onto the enemy's hull breaches. Weapons charged. Hit them. Ray shouted. She fired. Twin lances of energy ripped through the cruiser's flank. The explosion lit the stratosphere. But the Dominion returned fire. A plasma bolt struck their wing, sending the interceptor spiraling. Ray fought to regain control as gravity clawed at them. The ocean rushed up to meet them like a wall of blue steel. Brace, he roared. They hit. Water exploded around them. The ship skidded across the surface, skipping like a stone before plunging beneath the waves. Darkness. Silence. Then, the sound of groaning metal. Ray coughed, lungs burning. Kale's voice reached him through the static. We're alive. He looked through the cracked canopy. Above them, the Dominion cruiser burned, pieces breaking apart as it fell from the sky. It struck the ocean miles away in a fiery bloom. Kale whispered, "It's over." Ray leaned back in his seat, drenched, shaking. Not yet. He looked out toward the horizon, toward the faint line of coast. A city shimmered there, lights blinking faintly in the dawn haze. That's where it starts again, he said softly. Kale turned to him. You'd go back? After everything? He nodded. They need to know the truth. Humanity isn't prey. We don't bow. We endure. Kale studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she unbuckled her harness and smiled faintly. Then let's show them. The ship's emergency systems kicked in, dragging them toward the surface. Sunlight broke through the water, golden and warm. Ray reached for the comm unit, its light blinking weakly. If anyone's listening out there, tell them the Predator found its way home. The signal crackled through static, carried across the ocean and into the thin morning air. Above them, smoke curled into the sky, a message written in flame. On that dawn, the universe's most hunted being rose from the depths of his own world, breathing Earth's air once more. And somewhere beyond the stars, in the silent halls of Dominion Command, a single transmission arrived. Target lost. Unknown entity presumed destroyed. They would never know the truth. That the thing they feared most wasn't the weapon they built or the monster they dissected. It was the man who refused to stay dead.